If you're managing a team, these are 7 things you must do to be on top of your team's results, to get executable results, performance to the highest level. My name is Michael Marive, and I was able to build a team of 150 plus sales guys in less than 2.5 years, and did that with zero money invested. Now we have a lot of different companies that are growing like crazy from coast to coast like butter on toast. When it comes to building teams, these are 7 things that I do on a daily basis to check up on my team, on their results, to make sure it's effective and efficient and is getting the exact things that I want out of them, right? So number 1, I always, especially with my sales teams, whether it's over the phone, in person, I always go over film. Always. Managers, appointment setters, it doesn't matter. I'm always going over their film with them. Meaning, I go over their calls, I go over their recordings, I go over their meetings, whether it's recorded, Zoom, or whatever it may be, Google Meet, doesn't matter. I always want to discuss and go over their recordings, because at the end of the day, a lot of times people think they're saying something, but in reality, they're not saying. Or they think they're doing something the right way, but by watching from a third or aerial view, they're like, holy shit, that is not what I thought I was doing. And it's important to identify the things that your team is doing right and wrong to make sure that they're actually executing the things you want them to execute. So what I do is I always, I go over their calls, and I always go over their recordings. And sometimes I even tell them, hey, go over your recording here. This is where you messed up. This is where you messed up. This is where you need to change. This is where you need to change, right? You have to do that. Do not expect your team or your workers to just get things and just work and just create results in your company. It's not going to happen. That is why managers are important. That's why supervisors are important. That's why leadership is important, because people sometimes don't even know they're doing the wrong thing unless they're guided in the right direction. Number 2, you got to do daily morning meetings. In every single business I've ever built, I have always created a structure where we have a morning huddle, right? Every single team has a huddle. In sports, they have a huddle. In basketball, everybody has that. But guess what? In business, not everyone does that. People just expect people to just show up and work. And what I have learned is that if you have a small team, it's kind of difficult. Maybe 2, 3 people, you kind of get on a phone call, whatever. Then when you have a team of 5, 10, 15, 20 people, you have to create daily huddles so that everybody knows what everyone's role is and everyone knows what is expected out of them. And everyone talks about their wins, their losses, recognition, camaraderie. It's extremely important if you're building a company and building a team. That's one thing that's actually changed everything for me, was my daily morning huddles, right? Number 3, you have to have calls after work. Build relationships with other people in your team outside of working hours. It's not just about work. It's about work, build a relationship. Work, build a relationship, because they're humans. They have families. They have, things that they enjoy outside of work. Figure out what those things are. Get to know them a little bit. Understand who they are as a human being and kind of build that rapport, because at the end of the day, when shit hits the fan, people want to be around people they trust, like, and respect. Because when shit is good, everybody wants to be around you. They're making money. It's success. It's awesome. But what about when shit hits the fan? When it can and will happen, right? You have to be there for them. And they have to be there for you. But how will they be there for you if they don't have a relationship built with you? You tend to want to spend time with people that you build relationships with. So why not be early in this process and build relationships with people after work hours and get to know who they really are? If you're building a virtual team, it's not as easy as it sounds, but guess what? Pick up the phone, video chat. There's a lot of ways to build relationships with other people by getting to know them and who they are in your team, okay? Number 4, check the pulse of their attitude on a daily basis. Every single day, I go into my recordings, I go into my meetings, I call my people and kind of check the pulse on what's going on with them. You have to be so good and have a good intuition, a gut feeling, and understanding what are your employees and your teammates going through? What are their challenges they're going through today? What are their struggles they're going through? Is there personal struggles? A lot of times they may be doing amazing at work, but they have a problem at home. Someone in their family has cancer. Someone in their family is dying in a hospital. Do you know that? Do you know what's going on outside of their environment that's could maybe, it can affect their productivity at the work? You have to be very keen and understand, checking the pulse on everybody to understand what are they going through? How are they, where is their attitude at, right? It's very important. Their attitude will determine their altitude. And if you do not manage that properly, you can literally just not say anything, and guess what? They won't produce. You'll be like, oh, well, he's a bad employee. That's not true. Maybe you're a bad leader. Maybe you didn't do your part to identify, what's this person going through. Connect with people and kind of check the pulse of your teammates, right? Number 5, go over your daily breakdowns. A lot of my guys, what they used to do back in the day, they used to write down on a piece of paper their daily breakdown sheet. What did they learn? What did they fail at today? What is their biggest struggle? What do they need to improve on the next day? What are their statistics for the day? What did they do right today? What were their tasks? I call those an EOD report or a breakdown, right? It's very, very, very important. EOD stands for end of day, right? I want to have end of day, weekend reports on understanding what are they going through. And by the way, the reports are more for them, because when they're writing it down, they're looking at the videos, when they're watching the content, when they're understanding themselves better. They're understanding, oh shit, this is what I accomplished. Because a lot of times workers and employees think that because they put 8 hours that day, they accomplish a lot of greatness. But in reality, they just put 8 hours. So it's good for them to realize, holy shit, in 8 hours, I only got these 3 tasks done. I could have done 3 more, but I wasted time on this, I wasted time on this, I wasted time on that, right? So it's very important for them to understand what they're going through, and this helps them become better employees and better people, right? Number 6, You gotta check their KPIs and their percentages. I look at my statistics hourly, daily, weekly to understand where is this person at? Where is this team at? Where is the company at? Is statistics broken down to the nitty-gritty? Depending on each position is different. Some positions require me to, analyze, the leads, the this, the that, the funnels, but you have to pay attention to your KPIs. What are the formulas that's gonna drive your business? A KPI basically means this. I know it's a key performance indicator. People are like, what the f is that? Very simple. What is your formula for success? For example, for my door-to-door guys, it was very, very, very simple. If you knock on 100 doors, how many of those doors will open? And out of those doors that open up, how many will actually have a conversation with you? And out of those conversations, how many of those conversations will equal to a decision maker that's actually open to listening to you? And out of those decision makers that are open to listening to you, how many of them are actually willing to sit down and get more information on the product or service you're trying to sell? Out of those people, how many actually sat down? How many no-showed? How many canceled? Out of those presentations that did show up, how many did we close? And we will look at those percentages and teach the guys to study their own numbers, because if you don't know the formula, how will you know what to execute in, right? So the formula is very simple. If I do X and I do Y and I do Z, I'll get again A, B, and C. And when you understand your formula, you can then tweak and put more gas on the areas that need, that need more of those numbers, or you can kind of decrease your time in the areas that don't actually change anything at the end of the day for your results. So when you know your formula, it is extremely vital to study it. And also, if you're a leader, to study your team's formula and help them understand that. When I did that, my team exploded because they really figured out what they needed to focus on. So when someone came to me, like a Bobby would say, hey, Mike, I'm out there pounding it for 40, 50 hours this week and I have no results. I'm like, really? Can I see your numbers, please? And they would show me their numbers and I'll look at it, I'm like, holy shit. You see right here? You see the problem? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, look at this. You spoke to 18 people this week. 18 decision makers. How the hell do you expect to make XYZ money if you only spoke to 18 people when in reality, you got Bobby over here or Joey that spoke to 45 people. No wonder he's creating results. You only spoke to 1/3 of the people that he spoke to. And then they would understand, okay, I need to focus on getting more X, and that's what they would focus on, and that's how they increase their income. So it's very important to study the KPIs of your people, percentages, and understand exactly what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong and help them with those formulas. Last but not least, number 7, one thing I always do is I know there's a lot of things people could do. They do wrong. They make mistakes. Employees, contractors, people fuck up. It is part of the process. But one thing I love to do is recognize people for their work. I always try to commend them and say, good job. Congratulations. I love it. Awesome. Even if it's a small win. Small wins add up to big wins. And I always want to make sure that I'm recognizing people for the work they've done. And if you can appreciate and recognize them, they will never, ever leave you because they will never get that anywhere else. So appreciate them, love them, take care of them, help them become better people. And I promise you, people will stick with you for a very long time. These are some of the things that I do to help grow my teams. Maybe you have an extra one, another thing that you may want to add. Let me know in the comments. And I love you guys and I appreciate you guys. If you love this kind of content, do me a favor, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video.